Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today's budget presentation was the shortest by Nirmala Sitharaman and perhaps the most vanilla one, if some impressions are anything to go by, as some would put it. Critics were definitely disappointed by this budget. No big bang announcements, no headlines, no all-out doles in an election year. It was a critically acclaimed film, but not a blockbuster at the box office that would get you whistles in the cinema hall. But like I said, it's a critically acclaimed film, one that is appreciated by the one who knows and understands the nuances of the real creative art, and who are the subject matter experts. Similarly, today's budget was a hit with economists. Let me tell you why before we hear what the finance minister said in the budget and on her government's vision, not just for its financial year, but for the next 25 years. A jump of 35.4% in India's capital expenditure was the big feature, big takeaway in this budget. 2 lakh crore rupees for small entrepreneurs given. 19,500 crore was the performance-linked incentive scheme for solar modules, and the PLI scheme is a huge hit. 5 lakh crore cover for hospitality sector. Also, what came up was the announcement on 5G spectrum auction to take place in the next financial year. Let's look at, what the critics were looking for, which they didn't find in this. They said there is no change in the income tax slabs, and therefore the middle classes, the Aam Aadmi, hasn't got anything. So missing X factor, the ATC limit remains at the same level of 1.5 lakh rupees, was expected to go up, but nothing's happened. No hike in tax exemption limit for health insurance or home loans, no increase in benefits for home buyers, and those X factors were, completely absent from this budget, which led some people to question whether this budget was really a budget for all people. Income from digital assets also, that is cryptocurrency, to be taxed at 30%. So profits from cryptocurrency exchange to be taxed at 30%, but no word said about the legality of cryptocurrency. It's just assumed that now it's a legal tender. But taxes have come in, and we understand it's with retrospective effect. And every transaction in digital assets would also carry a TDS of 1%, which is to bring on board all these transactions which have gone unaudited so far. This wasn't a soap opera. Despite a budget around the corner, no hike in the PM Kisan Yojana allocation, despite polls. That was the big announcement in this budget. And many would have thought that there would be something for farmers, but wasn't really there. So no soap opera in this budget. So many people also have said that the Manrega funds have been reduced despite COVID and joblessness. No special allotment for the unorganized sector, and poll doles have been absent from this budget, which is why the fiscal deficit is at 6.9%. This year compared to the target of 6.8%, so a disciplined budget. Let's listen in to what Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said in her budget earlier today in the Lok Sabha.
I am confident that with Sabka Prayas, we will continue our journey with strong growth. Honorable Speaker, we are marking Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav and have entered into Amrit Kal, the 25-year-long lead up to India at 100. Honorable Prime Minister, in his Independence Day address, had set out the vision for India at 100. By achieving certain goals during Amrit Kal, our government aims to attain this vision. I take this opportunity to thank all the taxpayers of our country who have contributed immensely and strengthened the hands of the government in helping their fellow citizens in this hour of need. So I have brought in a little verse from the Mahabharata. I wouldn't spend more time reading because I would like the speech to get enough time. However, the substance of it is the king must make arrangements for yoga kshema, which is the welfare of the populace, by way of abandoning any laxity and by governing the state in line with dharma, along with collecting taxes which are in consonance with dharma. This is Mahabharata Shanti Parva Adhyaya, Shloka 11 from 72.
You're watching the News Hour at 9, debate number 1, on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
And tonight on the News Hour, I'm joined by Union Minister for Urban Development and Petroleum, Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri. He's here to decode the budget for us. And Hardeep Singh Puri, good evening to you. And my first question to you is, I didn't quite get, the blueprint of this budget. Is it the budget which will talk about how India is going to grow till India at 100 happens, 100 years of independence? Or is this that the fruits of all the investment that you do this year will be enjoyed by us when each one of us is 100 years old? How does this really work, Mr. Hardeep Puri? Because जनता कह रही है हमें तो कुछ मिला ही नहीं.
Budgets are typically for 1 year, but you have to see the budget in the context of the previous year's budget. When we had the budget 1 year ago, before that the government had to produce 5 mini budgets as part of the booster which the economy required during the lockdown. Now this budget for 2023, let me tell you what I took as a major takeaway. My heart warmed up to the whole context when the Honorable Finance Minister said that the GST realization for the month of January was 1,41,000 crore, 4th month rising, which means the economy is firing on all 6 cylinders. Secondly, CapEx, capital expenditure, goes up by 35.4%. from 5.5 lakh crores to 7.5 lakh crores. Navika ji, we are not out of COVID yet, but we are no longer dealing with the kind of issues we had to. During the COVID, there was a lockdown. You had to give 3 meals a day to over 80 crore people. You had to fly in medicines from outside. You had to start producing vaccine. We have now domestically produced and distributed 172 crore doses of vaccine. We have been able to provide our farmers money in their pockets every few months. Agricultural credit has gone up. The money for MSP, etc. has gone up. We are spending much more. The urea subsidy has gone up. Now for every 2 things that you are disappointed with, I can cite 10 which are more spending. But I think the most important thing is, today you can say with confidence that you're going to end the previous year at 9.2% rate of growth. And you're going to look at the next year with confidence at 8.5%. The global average is 4%. We've grown at more than 2.5 times that figure. We were worried about supply chain disruption. We did not know how we will get it, but in a pure, focused, concentrated Atmanirbharta, we've got our health sector right. Our exports are booming. I think the economy has turned around. It is the largest growing, fastest growing amongst the large economies. Now, I started by listening to you very carefully. I always listen to you carefully. I think there is a tinge of disappointment that whistle blowing populism, populism, major appointment. I think we've got, why are the economists hailing it? Why is the stock market cherishing it? Because it is a sensible budget. If you get capital expenditure by increasing 35%, it means all infrastructure spending will go up. It means more cement. It means more steel. It means more employment. It means more Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. And look at it. Look at the bonanza that the housing ministry has got. We had a target in the urban sector of 1 crore homes. We revised that to 1 crore 12 lakhs. We've already done 1 crore 14 lakhs. 58 lakhs have already been handed over to the beneficiaries. 70 lakh grounded doing. Now for Grameen, rural and urban put together, we are going to do another 80 lakhs in 1 year, for which 48,000 crores has been set aside. I said the government is putting money where it is being productively used. The money is going to generate spending, economic activity, employment, benefit to other sectors. And some sectors which got hit badly, like tourism. When there's an economic slowdown, people will not travel. They cannot travel. Airlines had virtually closed down, but they put 5 lakh crores into tourism. Then some of the other industries hit, MSME. So other than the, you see, middle class and Aam Aadmi, I saw your Surkhiyam, Aam Aadmi. Abhay, the Aam Aadmi got 80 crore of the Aam Aadmi got free food, 172 crore Aam Aadmi got vaccine, 172 crore doses. That's all gone to the Aam Aadmi. Provided free. But it's a beautiful balance. We are now not looking at the populism which normally comes on the eve of an election. It's a hard-headed budget with absolutely focused and rational allocation, and that is why it has been universally welcomed, thumbs up, and more important, the stock market has reacted to it. I saw the stock market, one of them, rise by about 850 points. It's at nearly 59,000. There's a proof of the pudding if any was required. It's there. But more than that, I stand assurance, once people start reading the budget, they start looking at the fine print. Today what you are getting is impressionistic. And not surprising, two political leaders who can't get their act together in one state, whether they want an alliance or not, are saying, "Are isme budget mein to kuch hai hi nahi." Are bhai, पिछले 20 साल में, पिछले 7 साल में ये तो, this is a, you know, which started in 2015. I mean 2020, किसी budget में आपको कुछ अच्छा नजर आया है? But look at how it is being received outside. I have heard through the day, I was very proud sitting in that house watching the Honorable Finance Minister. And my instant reaction when she came into the Rajya Sabha to delay the papers, I said, "Congratulations, madam. It's an outstanding budget." Every budget has a context. If I were in the midst of a pandemic and I had talked about increasing capital expenditure by 35%, people would have said, "Ye pagal ho gaya." But we have been able to come out of the pandemic. We have the hospitals. During the pandemic, my ministry set up 42 oxygen plants in Punjab alone. Today, that phase is over, and we are still prepared. We have the hospitals, we have the oxygen, we have the infrastructure. Now we have to get all 6 cylinders of the economy's engine firing, and that is what this budget is about.
The good thing about you, Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri, is that one doesn't have to ask you a question. You don't give the anchor an opportunity to ask a question. You explain, but you said your heart was warmed because the economy is worrying. हम भी खुश हो जाते, हमारी भी थोड़ी सी जेब में आप टैक्स छोड़ देते. You know, middle classes, salaried classes, just 3.5 crore of them, you know, in this country, who got a thank you for paying their taxes and who got a shlok out of the Mahabharat, but got nothing really else from this. And they've gone through COVID times also. They've had job losses also. They've had salary cuts also. And they have had mounting health-related expenditure, education-related expenditure as well. So, Hardeep Singh Puri, your party was the middle-class party. What happened to that love affair? Somewhere jilted them?
Madam, I'm learning from you that love affair with the middle class and with all sections of society is continuing. Let me just say, sometimes you give a direct benefit, sometimes you give an indirect benefit. When you provided a free vaccine or free meals to the Aam Aadmi, that was one way. But I think we have an excellent finance minister, the Honorable Finance Minister, large-hearted. If the buoyancy of the revenue continues this way, GST collections and others, and we are not put under pressure, strain in other areas, I'm sure that much lamented or much desired cut in the personal income tax which you are seeking, I'm sure the finance minister could consider that. But this time the real requirement was in the 75th year of our independence, when we are coming out of the COVID, when we are wanting to expand, to put the investment into infrastructure, into the growth, to fortify, the roads, the homes, the ports, the highways. That is what capital expenditure is about. And that will generate economic activity. You're providing shops in other areas. And I'm sure the time will also come subsequently when you can look at personal income tax, etc. There are other things. Once we decode the budget, the whole issue will become clear. I think this is a budget which gives a feel good to all sections.
Well, Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri, yes, it's a critically acclaimed budget, no doubt about that. But of course, it's our job to ask you the questions from the sections where disappointment has been expressed. And today, the trending the trending phrase on social media was no change in income tax. So, valid questions, valid disappointments. But considering that your government is so transparent, it says everything in the budget and it plans long term, and it's a very sensible, credible budget and a government. I want to ask you, why do revisions in petroleum prices stop during elections or in the run-up to elections, and why do they resume just after that?
First of all, you have elections around the year. I mean, if the elections are taking place in 5 states now, I mean, the petroleum prices are determined by world market prices. The world market prices came down to $19.56 a barrel. Then now, with the revival of economic activity, they've gone up. Why is somebody not passing it on or not? It's not a question which I make a determination of. When we saw the prices going, the Honorable Prime Minister took a meeting with the Finance Minister, and we decided to slash the rate of excise duty charge on petrol by 5 rupees from the 32 rupees which was being charged earlier, and 10 rupees on diesel. I don't know what's going to happen if there's an exacerbation of tension in one part of the world, let's say, hypothetically, I don't know, South China Sea or some part of Eastern Europe. I don't know where petrol prices will go. Petrol prices are determined by the amount of stocks which are released by OPEC Plus and put into the market, and the demand. It was our expectation, it is still our expectation, that if there is no exacerbation of tension, the petrol prices will hold. Recently, one large consuming country refused 45 consignments, and the price of gas came down by 22%. So, Navika ji, it's a very calculated story. I'm sorry there is disappointment. There's no whistleblowing about the populism and one or two political leaders whose job it is to criticize. Your job is to ask tough questions. And we always make ourselves available to you for tough questions, which you never desist from asking. So petroleum prices is not something that this budget is going to deal with. But I tell you, this government is completely ready. Government stands committed. I mean, if the situation so warrants, government will take steps, and we are taking steps, increasing ENP, we are doing more ethanol blending, we are going to put more, concentrated in acquisition of equity assets, etc. So we are preparing for, if the situation improves, well and good, we will, it's passed on to the consumer. I mean, we never raised it from 32 rupees a litre ever. It would remain like that. I mean, the state governments charge a percentage as VAT. So ताली तो दोनों हाथ से बजती है, but वो political leaders हमारे बारे बात कर लेते हैं, अपनी state government के बारे नहीं बताते हैं. कई तो उनमें से दारू की ड्यूटी कम कर देते हैं, पर पेट्रोल की नहीं करेंगे.
चलिए, ताली दोनों हाथ से बजती है और ताली के बीच में, दोनों हाथों के बीच पे पिसता है तो आम आदमी. Let's leave it at that for the moment, but thank you very much, Mr. Hardeep Puri, for joining me on the News Hour tonight.